a radiogenic production.
BLB, Sounds from the Past, Memories of Pirate Radio and Stories of Bray Local Broadcasting. Episode 4.
We're on the air now.
BLB. They were the authentic voices of the people of Bray.
Yesterday afternoon on the seafront.
I would like to wish BLB a very happy and successful future.
I don't think any community is truly that without having its own radio station.
The requests are starting to flow in at the moment, and if you would like...
Bray needs this communication, and I think communication will open things up for everyone.
And welcome to another Ball Community Council programme.
There was the Meath Road listeners, there was the Wolftown Square listeners, there was the Boghall Road.
There you are, Glen Curtin. A sad little ditty, a bad salad. Sorry, a sad ballad.
Sitting on a dart, coming home somewhere, I liked your programme this morning. Oh, what on earth was that rubbish you played? It was wonderful.
BLB, the magnificent service that it provided at the times. It really was the voice, the glue that made us what we are today. I think the town rediscovered its vibrant identity.
BLB was a pirate radio station broadcasting illegally, and it was allowed to technically break the law and continue broadcasting for 9 years or so because there were no licenses to apply for, and the law, such as it was ambiguous and not vigorously enforced. What enforcement there was of the flimsy Wireless and Telegraphy Act fell to the Department of Post and Telegraphs, or the PNT as they were known. They occasionally set up surprise raids on some of the many pirate stations operating around Ireland in the 1980s and seized their transmission equipment, rendering the stations inoperable. Bray Local Broadcasting, BLB, was never raided, and perhaps the reason for that was because we were calling ourselves a community radio station, or maybe it was because we had friends in high places in the local P&T in Bray.
The more it went on, the more I was convinced that local radio was right.
This is Joe Lockman, who was a senior employee of the P&T and manager of Bray Telephone Exchange back in the 1980s. He was also a founding member of several Bray institutions and became a member of BLB. In his work, he championed BLB, almost to the detriment of his livelihood. This interview was first broadcast in 1988.
I had a habit over the years of fighting adversity, and this was a new challenge. And I felt that this has to work. Just as Credit Union worked, just as the Wheelers worked, just as various things, the obsession about a museum and all these sort of things beforehand, these were good things. Just being tenacious about it. On my part, in my involvement, I just didn't want to hear anything else, and I felt that local radio was one of these things. It just had to work. And I said, I'm definitely getting involved, and the establishment can go to hell. And I really stuck my neck out, and I was challenged a few times about my involvement. And I said, well, my attitude now is that I have a few more years left in the job. If they want to sack me, let them sack me. I'm getting involved in local radio, and I think the decision was right because it's been such a wonderful thing for Bray.
Well, thankfully Joe Lockman wasn't dismissed from his job at Bray Telephone Exchange and went on to retire gracefully. This was 1980s Ireland, and of course, as we've said, BLB wasn't the only radio station operating outside the law. Across the country, there were pirate radio stations springing up everywhere. Most of them were simply playing pop music and making money through selling advertising for local businesses, and they nearly all had the same amateurish sound, both in presentation style and technically. That is until the summer of 1981, when, capitalising on the gap between the professional-sounding RTE and the mostly shoddy-sounding pirates, the slick guys arrived. Chris Carey was a former Radio Luxembourg DJ, and he and Robbie Robinson set up Radio Nova and Sunshine Radio, the Super Pirates.
Radio Nova!
The
It's 9:25.
When Radio Nova came on air long after we'd launched, it had a particularly strong medium wave or AM signal that was very close to BLB's on the radio wave band. So close, in fact, that BLB's signal was being blocked out by Nova. So John Murphy and I decided that we needed to go and tell the owner of Nova, Chris Carey, that we were there first and he would just have to move frequency. So we made an appointment and went to the studios of Radio Nova in Herbert Street in Dublin. The meeting went like this. We stated our case and Chris Carey just sat behind his big desk smirking and simply said that he was not moving frequency. End of meeting. Within a few weeks, we bought a new crystal for the transmitter and BLB then moved frequency to 456 meters or 657 kilohertz on medium wave. The Super Pirates had proved many things, including that listeners wanted the clear stereo sound of FM.
FM was getting more popular.
John Murphy.
RT had an FM signal as well. So we thought, well, we're going to have to do something about that. One of the pioneers was Frank Duffy up in Brayhead. He built an FM stereo transmitter.
BLB Radio.
That transformed us. We now had AM, we now had FM, and FM was the way I think it was going. And FM was so much easier to build in terms of antenna and everything.
Bray Local Broadcasting, Bray Local Broadcasting.
Bray Local Broadcasting.
Bray Local Broadcasting.
If we go right back to the beginning of this radio adventure, you might remember us talking about the 1979 local election and how it not only gave us an interest in making more substantial programming, but also offered local politicians a direct connection to their constituents. Back then, with no such thing as the internet, this potent direct connection was only available on local radio, and we in BLB regularly had local politicians on air, and I think it's fair to say that they very quickly saw the advantages.
Local radio probably had a more significant impact on local politics than anything else.
BLB presenter Mark Mortell.
I ultimately became a member of Bray Urban Council. I was co-opted in, I think, 1983, and then ran for election in 1985 and got elected onto the county council. The local radio was a medium that now was like manna from heaven to people involved in local politics.
Presenter and producer Pat Hannon.
Back in 1979 and all those early 80s, nobody ever heard councillors speak on radio. You had presenters, John Matthews, Mark Quinn, Bray Today, Alwyn Dixon, roundabout, getting these people in for interviews who were never heard before or never challenged on stuff. So here was BLB holding truth to power, in a small local democracy. And I think the people of Bray kind of appreciated that.
Those of us that listened to Southside, subsequently BLB, you had access to those politicians and some of them got to use it and copped on to this much faster than others. But it brought the whole thing to life and it gave them a platform that hadn't existed before, and it brought that immediacy and that local contact to news and to events and an opportunity to obviously promote yourself, so for God's sake, it was brilliant.
I think the relationship with local politicians was interesting because on the one hand, it's an illegal pirate radio station. What they were doing was, I suppose, technically illegal, but they weren't slow about seeing the possibilities that local radio and BLB in particular offered them, because we were dead keen to have them involved and to have their voices on air.
Sally Reynolds, a former station manager.
It is before social media, it's before all those things that we take so much for granted now, insofar as that they had not been heard before, because the only time maybe they might get onto RT was around the time of an election or something, or if they did something dramatic, but for the most part they weren't heard. So suddenly they were heard. I don't remember any of them saying that they wouldn't come on.
I've taught in towns in various parts of Ireland before I came here 12 years ago. I love this town.
This is Pat Hunt in 1987. He was then president of Bray Chamber of Commerce, speaking on the Roundabout programme, which was broadcast every Saturday morning.
There are more begrudgers per square inch in this town than per square mile elsewhere in Ireland. If I had one prayer for Bray in 1988, it would be to develop a better can-do attitude.
And now Pat Hunt today.
We could switch on our radios, particularly on Saturday mornings, and discover what else was happening in the town, who our neighbours were. What were they doing? What were their pastimes? What were they interested in? What were the local issues that needed urgent attention in the town?
This problem came up, it manifested itself, and I think in myself it's blown out of proportion, the fact that we're going to have enormous numbers of people coming out to Bray to gamble. That isn't so at all.
The prospect of banning the introduction of gaming or slot machines in Bray was the subject of this roundabout discussion in 1987 with councillors Noel Keyes and Bridgie Hannon.
I feel that we did have a chance to do something about it, and unfortunately the rest of the councillors didn't grasp the chance.
I think for local politicians it was a particularly good outlet. I mean, most local politicians are in the council, the urban or the county council, right? And they might appear as a photograph in the newspaper, but to be able to be asked questions on the air by listeners phoning in, to be able to put their point of view across. And we were quite scrupulous in those days even to get a balance, to get to give them a fair amount of time, get every side heard. I think the politicians rose to that, they understood that. Sure, they'd ring us and say, I want to talk about this, but everyone accepted there would be a balance.
Now, there's a great deal of community effort going to be needed here.
This roundabout interview is with Alwyn Dixon and Councillor Michael Ledwidge on the raising of funding for a new seawall on Bray Seafront.
Because the approximate cost of restoration is, I believe, in the area of 3 million.
Yes.
And it is up to the county as a whole to come up with something like 20% of that.
Correct.
How are we going to do this?
The money from the...
We would talk about the different areas in the town.
John J.J. Matthews was the presenter of a current affairs series on BLB called Saturday Soapbox.
I can remember debates between local politicians, let's say like Dick Roach, Fianna Fáil politician, and we had Liz McManus, who lived literally across the road from the station. They would always be prepared to debate, even though the station was illegal. Politicians were quite happy to get on air. For instance, we had people like Gemma Hussey, who would, no problem in giving an interview. So they seemed to think that it was important to be involved in it. They felt it had a local clout.
It was a kind of a communal voice. They were of the people, from the people, and they spoke for the people. And they picked on issues that all of us could easily identify with, which in fact were outside our own front doors.
So who got the tender then?
Well, the tender for this area went to Noble Brothers.
This is from another 1987 roundabout programme, and this time I'm asking Wicklow County Councillor Johnny Fox about the recent privatisation of refuse collection in the county.
Newtown, Mount Kennedy, down almost to Newcastle and into the urban area of Bray.
Even political parties became more alive. There was a better representation of people in the town.
And we were very concerned and disappointed that the same attitude wasn't taken in Bray.
Councillor Liz McManus this time on Roundabout as part of that discussion on gaming or slot machines.
Because the long-term effects will be, in our view, that the same operators that were operating in Dublin will move out to Bray, and Bray will become a gambling town.
Bray Local Broadcasting Community Radio on 657 kHz, it's just after 3 o'clock.
A regular feature of BLB's output was the voice of the people, or the Vox Pop. Our presenters would wander the streets of Bray asking members of the public all sorts of questions, and then, because it was such a novelty for people to hear their names on the radio, they would usually end up asking for a request. Here's Joe Bollard on the main street of Bray in 1986, and first Mick Curtis of the Roundabout team in 1981.
What do you think of your local radio service?
And I have it on at the moment at home. I put it on first thing in the morning.
Is it giving you what you want? Would you like to see more programmes or better programming?
No, it's a great variety of music on it, which I like.
Which you like?
Being an old married mother.
Is there any particular programme you like yourself? One in particular?
No, I can say I like them all. The nice variety there is.
Would you like to make a dedication?
I would, for my husband, if he's at home now, and my family on the Herbert Road.
And who are you?
Beatrice Quinn is my name.
I've got a lady with me. Hello, can I have your name, love, please?
Nancy McQuaid.
Nancy from where?
Glasgow.
Ah, have you?
Originally Bray.
Originally Bray. Nancy McQuaid, you're not wearing the kilt this morning.
No, love, no.
How long have you been home?
I've been home now since the beginning of August.
And how are you keeping?
Very well, thank you.
Enjoying?
And yourself?
Oh, and you're enjoying yourself?
Of course I am. I was enjoying myself when I come home to Bray.
Yeah, good. Is there anyone you'd like to say hello to?
I'd like to say hello to my son John, who's home on holiday, his wife Mags, and my little grandson Ryan John McQuaid.
Joe Bollard was a particularly skilled interviewer of people on the streets, but even he was thrown when he attempted a chat with Bray's famous street newspaper seller, Chicken Riley. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a recording of the incident, but we do have it on good authority that when out broadcasting live from Bray's Main Street, Joe quizzed the seasoned street vendor Chicken about his nickname, and he replied, "Well, me fucking father was called Chicken, so..." This is probably a good time to take a commercial break. The station obviously had utility bills and other running costs to meet, and these were funded by the ads. Our first ad salesman was John Tuff, and some of the clients that he secured in the first year of operation in 1979, like Cyril Dunn of the fashion salon on Bray's Main Street, remained loyal to the station and ran their ads on BLB for many years afterwards. Here's John Murphy on the early recording techniques we employed producing those ads.
We used to make 30-second ads, and 30 seconds was the length of my living room in Bray. So we cut a piece of tape from the front window to the back window, and that was approximately 30 seconds, and roll it up, and they were the ads.
Local radio had a fantastic opportunity.
Freddie Morahan was not only a presenter on the station, but also as a retailer, he was an advertiser.
Because everybody who listened to the radio was a potential customer.
Once upon a time, there was a very special bookshop on Quinnsborough Road.
The only way we could raise money was to sell advertising. But the advertising money went into a deposit account, and it was for running the station.
Carmel's had lingerie to suit all ages and are now open all day Wednesday. Carmel's, 1C Quinnsborough Road, Bray.
I think one of the interesting things about BLB was that despite all of its lofty feelings, that we were above commercial life, we also needed advertising.
Sally Reynolds.
And we had just the best salesman, Liam Deshune, that you could possibly imagine.
Haven't you always wanted a Citroen car but were worried about its cost?
Because we were much cheaper than other stations, it was easy to get people, OK, we'll give you a try.
Liam Deshune was employed on a full-time basis selling advertising space on the station, and he secured many new clients.
And they did get results. They had people coming, I heard you on the radio, I thought I'd drop in. So it did work.
Eugene McGee Travel, 4 South Anne Street, Dublin, and 115 Main Street, Bray.
You show them the value of it. You show them how cheap it is. You show them what great service to the community we are doing.
Allens have been serving Bray for over 70 years.
Because it was local, people would hear it and it would mean something, particularly if there were sales coming up or whatever it is.
It's the sale you've been waiting for at Brayware, with from 25% and more reductions. Jover's coats, jackets.
I always remember going into maybe Allen's or someone, and the first thing you would do when you went into the shop was you'd say, "Oh, they have BLB on."
Quinnsborough Road, Bray.
There was no doubt that Liam was a superb salesman, and his hard work not only helped businesses in the Bray area, but their support was a great endorsement of BLB.
With the business life of Bray, he was our connection. And so it didn't influence what we did. Okay, now and again there would be, well, how do we get the right ads into the right programs and stuff like that? And Joe Bollard's program was always the place where people wanted their ads to be placed, because that's where a lot of the listeners were.
I'd sell the ads. I'd have an idea for how the ad would go. I'd get all the information, and then I'd go to Mark Quinn, who produced all the ads.
I did indeed produce the ads for BLB for a few years, which involved writing the scripts, choosing the music and sound effects, contacting voiceover personnel to come to the studio, and of course recording and mixing the ads. Here's Doug Maguire.
I often used to go up and work with Mark, recording and preparing ads, and they were so much fun. There were so many outtakes and so many fluffs.
Their exclusive collections are greatly reduced in their summer sale. Big names at low prices at Brayware. Fuck it.
Sorry. Thinking of buying a camera?
Then you must see the selection of prices. Sorry, I'm sorry. He started it.
I just did the yard, man.
Shop tonight at Mr. T and leave your Saturday free. Yes, Mr. T is open every... Oh, shite.
Sorry.
Newless Florist, Castle Street, Bray, opposite Super Quinn, phone 867-632. It sounds like the fucking death march, that thing.
Oh, and don't forget you can get the ideal sporting gift or voucher for Christmas at Field and Leisure Sports. Phone 867-450. For sport... Oh, balls.
Darling, we must do something about the kitchen.
Why don't you call to Dunkern Kitchen?
Yes, they called it. Sorry.
Pick up a piece of jewellery for... pick up a bleeding penguin.
Black and white puddings? You could tell the butcher by the taste. Well, Dermot Hamilton, Vivy Road, Bray. I can't say that.
Now, it sounds like great fun, and for the most part, it was. But at times, it was challenging trying to appease a prospective advertiser. Here's JJ again.
I can remember being with one particular guy who ran a hairdressing shop. And you'd be there till 2 o'clock in the morning and he'd still say, do it one more time. You could be there for hours, making and writing and scripting the ads.
Thankfully, some advertisers were happy to let us be creative in the studio, and no one was more creative in the voiceover booth than my old friend Shay Byrne. Here he is in various guises.
Hey, you cats, heard about Cats? It's the coolest place in town. In Braytown, for the first time, Cats have cocktails and continental canned beers. Cats is where it's at, a cocktail bar with music. Cats on the main street in Bray. Opens Friday.
Ah, yes, Nigel. This is the radio commercial for Crescent Cleaners, the people who clean everything?
Yes, that's right.
Right, well, here we go then. Crescent Cleaners will clean everything from duvets to curtains and... Nigel, I'm sorry, but where's the music?
Well, there isn't any.
I see. Right, okay. Crescent Cleaners will clean suedes, leathers, furs, silk... Nigel, shouldn't that be silks?
No, silk.
Oh, okay. Right, Nigel. Good lad. Nigel, wouldn't it be easier to say Crescent Cleaners clean just about everything at Bray Shopping Centre?
Hello, my little fairy lads. It's Christmas again. Rudolph is in his way. And Bray Garden Centre has just the thing for your living room. A Christmas tree, of course. Oh, yes. They have non-shredding Christmas trees. They are called Norway Spruce and Noble Fear. Bray Garden Centre have heat lugs and coal and briquettes to keep you nice and cozy and warm on these desperately cold nights. And they have the excellent presents like houseplants. In fact, I shall be buying a plant for all of my friends at the Bray Garden Centre, Florence Road, Bray, of course. Bon Noël!
Bon Noël yourself. Shay Byrne there, and Shay also had the honour of voicing the longest running ad on BLB.
Ah, sure, there's no place like Ledwidge Brothers. For just about all you need in hardware, from hammers, hoes, hatchets and hacksaws, to mops, mats, milk jugs and mugs. Ledwidge Brothers have been serving Bray for years, and they'd be delighted to serve you at Main Street, Bray.
Fortuitously, I kept tapes of all of the ad masters from my time producing them in the 1980s. And as we listen back to them now, they serve as a reminder of the many businesses that still thrive in Bray, and of course, of the many others that are long gone. See how many you remember from this montage, and watch out for three-piece suits at £69.50, Ben Fox the Fiddler Leprechaun, and a four-course lunch for £4.50.
For a right royal place to grab a takeaway, try Regal Fair in Bog Hall Shopping Centre.
Your life, your wife, your future. Isn't it worth protecting them? Find out how from Eugene Corrigan Insurances Limited, 68 Main Street, Bray.
You can call for a free trial visit to Bray's gym at the rear of Dawson's Amusements Limited, Strand Road, Bray.
Rory Sheehy Footwear, Three Guys Shopping Centre, Bray.
These and hundreds more gift ideas now at Mr. T, Queensborough Road, Bray. O'Kelly's Jewelers, established for years on Queensborough Road, Bray. A four-course lunch is only £4.50 plus service. Hunt's, Main Street, Bray.
Michael John Menswear, the out-of-town shop for the man about town. Michael John Menswear in the Bray Shopping Centre.
The local store that offers you more is Grove Stores.
Cyril Dunn has the biggest and best selection of outsizes in Bray. For full-figure fashion and that smart young look, go no further than Cyril Dunn Fashions, 99 Main Street, Bray, opposite Woolworths.
There's one name that stands out in motor accessories. B&R Auto Factors are just open in Lower Doggle Road, Bray.
The Bray Snooker Centre, 75 Strand Road, is the place for snooker in Bray.
After a brisk walk along the seafront, why not stroll into the comfort of the lounge with its log fire at the Bray Head Hotel? At the foot of Bray Head on Seafront Bray, the Bray Head Hotel.
Music and dancing with Ernie Pickett playing some of your favourite songs of the 60s. Entertainment for this week at the Sunnybank Inn, Bray. See you there.
The Royal Hotel Bray present their new 1983 Christmas Spectacular, Ring Out the Bells, with cabaret and dancing starring Chris Casey, Edmund Brown, Jacinta White, Ben Fox, the Fiddler Leprechaun, Len Daniels, and your host and compere, Joe Cahill.
Three-piece suits are on special offer from £69.50. All at McKeown's, 29 Main Street, Bray.
Contact Martin Byrne Motors at Unit 3, Industrial Yarns, Dublin Road, Bray. Flood Engineering carry out all types of welding and offer factory maintenance. Call to Flood Engineering, rear of 90 Main Street, Bray.
For courtesy, service and personal attention, call to John Thormy, Queensborough Road, Bray, Big Falls Road.
Spring is here, lads, so put on the plumage and attract the birds with the softest of summer cotton trousers by Avanti, GB and others. Not to mention t-shirts, knitwear and baggy jeans. Strut down and spring into style with the latest gear at Allen's, Main Street, Bray.
Well, how many of those Bray businesses do you remember? And I forgot to mention that some of those ads were, shall we say, of their time. Coming up in our next and final episode, we hear about the monthly meetings of BLB members and how they created some memorable moments.
Out of this smoke-filled room, up pops Nick Coogan. And Nick had said that he had discovered on the holy ground of BLB, and he held up a condom.
And we hear about the lasting effect that being involved in Bray Local Broadcasting had on some members.
I have friends today that I have stayed friends with since the BLB days.
It's had a big impact on my life.
My sincere thanks to all of the participants in this series. Sound recording was by Mike Quinn and sound mixing by Luke Conlon, both of Highwire Post-Production Dublin. BLB, Sounds from the Past, Memories of Pirate Radio and Stories of Bray Local Broadcasting was produced and presented by me, Mark Quinn, and is a Radiogenic production.